Hello, everyone. I am Stephen Drew from the Architecture Social, and I'm really pleased to be announcing something different, something I think is exciting. Enough about me talking. We have so many amazing people in the community, and of course, you're all in architecture. You're either practicing architecture or you've studied architecture. So there's so many projects, so many interesting projects to talk about, and I think the more and more we share with each other, the better. So I am really pleased that Johannah is prepared to showcase her project. And I saw this online, I saw this on LinkedIn, and it inspired this event. So first of all, thank you so much for the inspiration, the project, and sharing your work on here. How are you this morning? Are you okay?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm really good, thanks. So I'm just gonna say I can see your beautiful project on the big screen. And if anyone can't or anyone in problems, because in case we got any teething issues, just send me a message and I will work it out. I'll be the IT man in the background. But other than that, I'm gonna pass the gauntlet over to you. I'm gonna put myself on mute and enjoy the show. Thank you so much for doing this. And if you need me at all, I'm right here following. Okay?
Cool. Thank you.
No worries.
So, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Johannah, and yeah, I'm a recent graduate from Oxford Brookes, and currently a Part 2 architectural and urban designer. And the project that I'm going to be sharing with you recently got nominated for the 2020 RIBA Silver Award. So, in the running for that. So, that's quite exciting. But yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to Stephen Drew and Architecture Social for having me this afternoon. And yeah, I just really want to thank all of you for joining, and I look forward to sharing my project with you. So the presentation will include an overview of my research. My research was quite vast, so I just picked just a few things to speak about today. I'll also be sharing with you a summarized version of my case study on Brixton arches and speaking about where they went wrong, and also a comparative case study on Peckham Palms and speaking about where they went right. And then I'll be sharing with you a video proposal which summarized my whole presentation and my work in a video. And then at the end, we'll have like Q&A, and like I'll be happy to like speak about anything that you ask me and just have like some discussion based on what you saw today. So my research begins with an overview of acculturation. So basically, Dr. J.W. Berry was a social and cultural psychologist, and he proposed a model for acculturation, which helped me to understand different adaptive outcomes of Black migrants in the UK. So the classic definition of acculturation is when groups of individuals having different cultures come into continuous first-hand contact with subsequent changes in the original culture patterns of either or both social groups. But also in simple form, it means the process of sharing and learning the cultural traits or social patterns of another group. So basically, Berry proposed 4 possible outcomes of acculturation, including separation, integration, marginalization, and assimilation. So for example, in assimilation, individuals adopt practices and the outlook of the dominant culture and give up the culture of origin, often seeking regular contact with the dominant society and avoiding maintenance of their original identity. So this is speaking about migrants moving into a different country or residence. And then Berry also proposed 4 possible outcomes of society acculturation, including exclusion, multiculturalism, segregation, and melting pot. But although Berry's model does identify the significant processes of acculturation, it's also quite reductionistic and limiting. And this is because Berry's model doesn't allow room for multiple dimensions that occur in acculturation and not acknowledging how certain aspects of migrants' behaviours can overlap. Therefore, these acculturation models are much better explained through a Venn diagram, which overlaps instead of 4 separate defining sections. So my Brixton case studies were selected and loosely categorized by these definitions in order to understand and explore these sites further for my design proposal. So the sites that I selected were for my case studies were Brixton Soup Kitchen, representing marginalization and exclusion, Brixton Village / Brixton Arches, representing integration and multiculturalism, the Black Cultural Archives, representing separation and segregation, and Pot Brixton, representing assimilation and melting pot. So I'm going to now introduce the case study, one of my case studies, which is Brixton Arches, and I'll be discussing the changes that occurred with this redevelopment, supported by my primary and secondary research and observations. So Brixton Arches and Brixton Village are indoor markets and stores which reside underneath Brixton's stations, railway tracks. Afro-Caribbean migrants arrived in Brixton in the 1950s, and this was also when street market stalls first appeared on Electric Avenue. From this point, the street market began to develop an international flavour. The eastern and western side of Brixton Arches and Brixton Village are divided by Pope's Road in between. The western side of the arches have recently been refurbished and has had a lot of resistance in the community. The eastern side of the arches are mostly in its original state and continue serving the working class community, but also feature many unused arches. Brixton Village, located in the southern side, has a multicultural depiction, but is also gradually being gentrified. Brixton Arches, Brixton Village and its surrounding markets are home to many small local businesses who are largely from migrant communities. Their stores directly cater to multicultural groups, particularly to the African, Caribbean and Asian demographics within Brixton, and therefore are an integral part of the district and a vital part of the town centre's economy and identity. Network Rail began the refurbishment and redevelopment of the eastern side of Brixton Arches between Brixton Road and Pope Road, including the change of use of 9 arches and alterations to existing units to provide a mix of retail, restaurants and bars within the 26 units and 13 kiosks. The Network Rail's design and action statement stated that the redevelopment will return the arches to single-use tenants and remain as retail food and beverage usage, which will encourage more people into the area. But this just suggests that an economic strategy of commercializing the arches to gain greater returns. As a result, commercialized businesses have taken over from these stores, contributing to the erasure of culture due to gentrification. The approach of redeveloping the arches wasn't helpful. Lambeth Council could have worked with existing businesses to renovate their stores, helping them adapt to the incoming demographic, but instead the increased rents was used to push them out. Network Rail also rebranded the well-known Brixton Arches to the Pillars to give homage to the founding pillars of the Brixton community. However, this rebrand is more likely to be a marketing tool to differentiate the former arches from the new arches and even the arches from the eastern side. According to their new website, brixtonpillars.com, only 9 business owners returned, and only 1 being Black, since the others could not afford or was not willing to pay the 300% increase in rent. A positive aspect of the positive aspect of the website articulates the history of Brixton and the vibrant culture that is introduced to the district through the Windrush generation, and acknowledging the culturally important sites such as Windrush Square and the Black Cultural Archives. However, the website seems to be a great distraction of the redevelopment-led, the website seemed to have been a great distraction of the development-led evictions and the community-led resistance. But according to the community group Save the Arches, Network Rail initially wanted all tenants and traders gone, giving them no right to return. But because of the community's opposition, some will return despite increased rents. They also wanted to increase the rent by 300% immediately, but it now will be stepped over a 7-year period. They also offered statutory compensation to small businesses, but then later went on to receive additional discretionary compensation. And also they wanted tenants and traders evicted within months of February 2015, but because of the community's resistance, tenants were able to trade for many months longer, and the last three continued trading on 2018. So as you can see, the small business owners lost the battle with Network Rail and Lambeth Council. Their poor methods to redevelop can be seen as an intentional move to dissolve the migrant communities in the district, so Brixton becomes more attractive to the white middle class community for financial gain. In addition to understanding Brixton, part of my research included learning from urban developments which actually empower and protect Afro-Caribbean culture, and Peckham Palms was a great example. Along Blenheim Grove, adjacent to Peckham Rise Station, consisted of various Afro-Caribbean hairdressers, barbershops, and beauty supply stores. However, in March 2016, Peckham Rise Station was granted planning permission involving the creation of a major new public square in front of the station and the refurbishment of some existing buildings which formerly housed the local Afro-Caribbean hair stores. Therefore, relocating these independent small businesses was unavoidable. Fortunately, Southwark Council showed interest in protecting these businesses, allowing them to continue to trade during the station square construction programme and in helping them relocate over the years. As a result, the Peckham Palms development was birthed, a vibrant new home to several independent Afro-Caribbean hairdressers and barbershops, providing spaces for new small-scale businesses and community facilities for local residents in Peckham. The site is a backland unused garage site on Bournemouth Close, approximately 1,418 square metres in size, and only a 4-minute walk away from the former site at Peckham Rise. However, due to Bournemouth Close being a backland site behind residential properties, the hub can easily be missed as it's not directly on the high street for first-time passerbys. The urban design qualities, edibility, and access can be improved in order to encourage footfall towards the site, so it doesn't solely rely on word of mouth and potentially affecting the profitability of the independent businesses. The Palms also aims to address the issue of underrepresented Black female ownership of the Black hair industry in the UK. Therefore, the development was created for this demographic, allowing Afro hair and beauty startup companies and individuals to focus on female entrepreneurial ventures while supporting traders from BAME backgrounds. As well as hair and beauty salons, Peckham Palms also has a cafe serving Caribbean treats, a rum bar, a social space for community events, workshops, and a hair academy designed to train a new generation of Afro-Caribbean hair beauty stylists. The council appointed specialist business support consultants to work with existing tenants on the design and layout of the new building. The overall project was designed by Something and Sons and Landau and Brown, also incorporating requests from the existing residents at Actwell Estate, which is highlighted in purple. The current owner of Peckham Palms, like I said, was Something and Sons, but they have agreed that the organisation will transition to a majority Black ownership within 5 years of opening. Once this is the case, the Palms will be the first hair, beauty and shopping hub in London run by the Black community. The council's ambitions for the site as a freeholder and landlord are not just to provide new accommodation for the traders, but to establish an environment where these businesses are supported to grow, as well as to celebrate London's Afro-Caribbean salon culture. So the lessons that we learned from this case study: avoid displacement. Although the new development wasn't in an immediately visible location, such as Peckham Rise High Street, the proximity to the original location is minimal, preventing displacement of small Black businesses and allowing them to keep the local clients, keeping the businesses in the community and for the community. Collaborate with business owners and locals. It's important to incorporate their ideas and requirements into the development and to address and resolve any concerns from locals. Continuous community engagement is appropriate, even when the development is in use. Council backing and support. Southwark Council recognised the significance and importance of Black businesses in the borough. Therefore, their support was integral to maintain and develop the Black community's relationship with them. Ownership. The developers gave small business owners the opportunity to own these spaces over time and not just lease out. This strengthens the Black pound as it circulates through business owners, suppliers, distributors, and consumers. And lastly, protection, celebration, and empowerment of Black communities and culture. The various programs that Peckham Palms features does this. It's authentically and unapologetically Black, even down to the names of the individual units, and also continues this cycle through educating the next generation in the industry. To round off this case study, here are some final words from the Managing Director of Peckham Palms.
I'm going to be bold and I'm going to hold my hand up and say, if the Palms did not exist in Peckham, it would look like what Brixton looks like now. Dead. Sorry.
And on that note, this transitions us well into my proposal presentation, Reclaim Brixton. So please enjoy my 12-minute video summarising my master's project, and feel free to ask me any questions at the end.
Reclaim Brixton is a project that responds to the negative effects of government planning of urban spaces, addressing gentrification, acculturation and assimilation of Black migrant communities from an urban to a domestic scale. The project responds through architectural interventions, disrupting and reclaiming gentrified developments in Brixton and reappropriating them for the marginalised Afro-Caribbean community. Part 1. Research Summary. The project begins with a photograph taken by Tony Linked of building materials at a construction site at Levittown, New York. Levittowns were the epitome of suburban living in the 1950s, marketed towards white middle-class veteran families who migrated from cities to the countryside, seeking to achieve the American dream. However, Levittown suburban living and the American dream became a false reality like a film set and an unattainable dream for many. It also highlighted the underlying issues of the housing system, such as the intentional exclusion of African Americans from Levittown developments. This critique of the American dream begins to reveal multiple layers of capitalism, power, and systems on various scales, which control access to housing across different groups of people. The unfortunate foundation of racism in America infected all areas of Black people's livelihood, causing many of them to be marginalised in society, making it incredibly difficult for them to break out of poverty. This is also a similar case in the UK. Forms of life has been imposed on migrants as they are expected to conform to the customs of the new country they now reside in. Observations show that an individual's domestic practices, behaviours and traditions are strongly influenced by culture. This influence is more complex when one's culture is different from the culture of residents, such as a migrant. As a result, varying levels of acculturation occurs. A comparative analysis of 3 different households show multiple aspects of a Ghanaian family merging their traditions in a British context. This can be seen as a combination of integrating Ghanaian and British culture and assimilation of Ghanaian culture. Assimilation of migrants can have oppressive impacts on the minority group or individual. It causes migrants to lose their identity, traditions, and culture in order to be replicas of the majority group. Additionally, gentrification results to urban assimilation as working class communities are pushed out along with their cultural customs while luxury developments take over. Thesis question: how can architectural interventions disrupt current gentrified models of development to protect and empower Black migrants and diaspora to prevent the erasure of Afro-Caribbean culture while using Brixton as a catalyst for social reform? Part 2. Architectural activism. Reclaim Brixton was the political movement which began in 2015 in response to the gentrification rapidly occurring in the district. The movement was led by local activists and supported by hundreds of Brixton residents. The protesters blamed Lambeth Council for their decisions to sell public land to private developers who often take over Brixton's diverse culture with overpriced and exclusive developments. The urban strategy for this project is to reclaim the sites of 5 gentrified developments in Brixton at a specific disruption point in 2018, where construction of all the interventions begin. The first site reappropriates the planned gentrified development of an Afro-Caribbean hair hub. The second site takes over the gentrified development of Ivor House, converting it into an Afro-Caribbean broadcasting and music hub. The third site takes over 3 adjacent sites in one, creating a cultural public square and taking back the arches. Site 1, Afro-Caribbean Hair Hub. The form of the hair hub is informed by the previously planned development and solar analysis. The 20-storey tower that the developers proposed is removed to allow access to sunlight for the courtyard-facing programs. New access points are created to make the site more permeable. The programs of the hair hub include domestic YouTube studios, barbershops, Afro hair stores, conference halls, coconut oil making kitchens, rooftop aloe vera greenhouses, and living room hairdressing units. Above the living room hairdressing spaces reside the other domestic rooms in the apartment, including bedrooms, bathroom, and storage. The exterior of each unit features personalised advertisement panels and outdoor seating. Today, Afro hairdressing is often activated through domestic spaces due to convenience, comfort, and self-employment, since Afro hairstyles can take many hours to complete. The live-work hairdressing units are accessible through the courtyard for customers and include all the necessary infrastructure to accommodate the black hairdressing experience. This includes a shampoo room, WC, and proximity to the kitchen dining area. While units are occupied, the living room offers flexibility to easily adapt between a domestic setting to a hairdressing setting. Due to the amount of waste that is produced from used human and synthetic hair extensions, used hair can be recycled from black consumers and casted in translucent resin to create sunlight diffusing panels to prevent glare to the users when the sun is low in the sky. This diagram summarises the process of tests I conducted on a handful of different types of human, Afro, and synthetic hair. This process also reflects the production of a one-to-one panel. Afro hair will always be a symbol of political and social resistance, as well as a celebration of black beauty and identity. Therefore, the application of Afro-textured hair into the fabric of the building symbolises black cultural identity in the architecture itself, as well as the programmatic intervention. YouTube has helped to distribute the mass media's power of television through providing a global platform for the black diaspora to discuss black cultural and identity politics. They often provide tutorials, product reviews, and commentary, forming a global network of black culture from their private settings. Gifty's recording space alternates between different areas of her bedroom and her house, depending on the content that she's creating. For instance, if she's recording a hair tutorial, she alternates between the bedroom and the bathroom to depict the literal process of her hair care. Additionally, if she's recording a hairstyling or makeup tutorial, she tends to record in her bedroom with artificial and/or natural daylight from the bedroom window. Therefore, video recording studios are built as an extension to the proposed townhouses in the north of this site. This domestic setting is not a set, but a reflection of the reality of how black hair is managed, transformed, and maintained, which their audience can relate and replicate at home. Site 2, Afro-Caribbean and Music Broadcasting Hub. The architectural intervention commences with the demolition of half of the building for the music hall and the top 2 floors for the double-height recording studios, partially retaining half of the building's facade, structural columns, floors, and core for the other programs. The new form of the building disrupts the previously symmetrical form with viewing platforms that extrude out of the music hall. The interior view of the music hub shows the division of programs with the retained core and lobby at its centre. This route provides convenient access to both parts of the building, while musicians can freely access all areas of the hub. The Afro-Caribbean Music and Broadcasting Hub sits on Brixton's influential civic quarter, with Brixton Town Hall directly next to it. The location of this intervention is significant, as the inside of these iconic buildings is where the district makes decisions on policies, planning, and how Brixton is developed. The music hall is designed for standing audiences, as Afro-Caribbean music genres are best experienced on one's feet. This section shows the cantilever viewing platform for the music hall, which enhances the audience's viewing experience. This creates an extruded form from the building, which pedestrians can comfortably walk underneath. The artist performing on the stage on the right is a local rapper from Brixton called Sneakbo. In 2018, he independently released his debut studio album called Brixton under his own record label. Sneakbo is an example of many black diaspora musicians who write, record, and produce their music from their bedrooms or accessible studios. This music hub provides access to other musicians who also want to independently produce music and use black music platforms for distribution. Online UK urban music platforms such as GRM Daily, Link Up TV, and SBTV, with approximately 4 million subscribers combined, are pioneering platforms in the UK music industry while reaching worldwide audiences as they promote, empower, and continue the production of urban music. Music recording studios feature in the Music Hub for the recording and distribution of Black music worldwide through the creation of physical and online platforms for upcoming artists. Double heights and thick wall build-ups enhance acoustic qualities for audio recording, replacing the 2 stories which were demolished. The studios are also aesthetically bold for visuals to be recorded and backgrounds to be digitally altered. The structure of the ground, first and second floor is maintained and is a product of the existing architecture and reappropriated as part of the urban strategy. The Black diaspora has also utilised audio and video podcasts for having relevant political, cultural and light-hearted discussions about their past, present and future. This form of social engagement has become increasingly popular within the Black community in the past 5 years. This has stemmed from Black people reclaiming their voices through boldly broadcasting these important discussions. The united voices have been birthed through conversations that constantly arise, usually between friends and family within a domestic setting. Therefore, the new podcast studios reappropriates the existing architecture of the building as domestic living room studios to facilitate this candidness and rawness of important topics to record and distribute online. Due to Prop Brixton, the home of Represent Radio, being demolished as part of the urban strategy, Represent Radio will now be relocated to the ground floor of the Music and Broadcasting Hub, along with other independent urban radio stations, so they can continue to promote Black music to the masses. Site 3, Cultural Public Square and the Reclaim Brixton Arches. The reclaimed public square creates a needed central space within the busiest part of central Brixton, suitable for the outdoor cultural programmes such as Brixton Splash. This was a popular annual street party celebrating Caribbean culture, which has been cancelled since 2016. Many locals believe that this is an act of social cleansing in Brixton. Instead of a huge annual festival like Brixton Splash, the cultural square allows the flexibility and adaptation of weekly events, organically integrating all the communities in Brixton. The wooden pallets are used as an extension of the adjacent market and reappropriated as temporary and portable public furniture. Local food vans are able to sell authentic cuisines from Afro-Caribbean cultures, as well as barbecue pans for grilling jerk meat. Flexible stages can be assembled for music events. Additionally, sitting, walking, cycling and socialising can all take place within the square. The design of the planned refurbishment of the arches is maintained but reclaimed and given back to the previous small local business owners, which Network Rail previously evicted. Part 3, Conclusion. The hijack of gentrified developments in Brixton boldly protests against the urban assimilation through positive discrimination by providing cultural hubs to empower and to prevent the erasure of Black communities and culture. Reclaim Brixton addresses issues of race in the design of domestic and urban spaces in various scales throughout the project. It should provoke questions about who places and spaces are designed for and how they can be adapted to different cultural groups. The methodology of the Reclaim Brixton project is apparent through the disruption of the planned and existing architecture and the reappropriated programmes and interventions. The strategic adaptation of developer planned schemes and existing buildings proposes a replicable method of how councils could work together with developers and communities instead of a one-sided top-down approach, which is often detrimental to minorities. Reclaim Brixton is a project that
So that was all.
Ooh.
I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, I just welcome any thoughts, any comments for this next Q&A bit.
Oh, I quite like that. Do you know what was interesting? I actually live in Lewisham, and I quite I wouldn't mind something like this in Lewisham. so you know, I know it's nice in Brixton, but I'm like, what about Lewisham, huh?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I feel like a big part of my project was to use Brixton as like a catalyst, so it can be replicated in different urban areas. So yeah, Lewisham could be next.
Yeah, maybe we're a bit further down the queue. It's really interesting what you were saying about because I've never been in the Peckham Palms, but what I would say is because I live in South London, it's been really interesting seeing that change. And I work with a developer called Frame Property, and they actually built one of the new buildings in Peckham. And what's interesting is, you're right, the change has been so, over the last few years, it's changed so much. And yeah, I haven't ever been to the Peckham Palms, but my friends had, and it's kind of got that awesome vibe to it. So
yeah,
it makes sense that it was a good precedent. I was just wondering if anyone else has any questions or anything. If what we can also do is throw some, when we post this online, we can get some questions there. But Andreas, hello, have you got any questions? I need to get like a little, like I need to get like a big, you remember like the lottery man with the big finger? I need to be like, have you got a question? I've got a chat.
okay.
Oh, I've got some questions. Dan's giving me some questions to read out. I've got to read something. This is where it could go wrong. All right, bear with me. Thank you so much. Really enjoyed it. So, let's get some round of applause. Let's get some round of applause. Bravo.
Thank you.
Very, very good. All right. So with the facts and studies you've researched, how do you think areas such as Peckham will be developed in years to come? Say 20 to 30 years, would you see areas drastically different developed? If so, what are your thoughts? So your kind of hypothesis on where you think it's going, I think.
Yeah, I think if Peckham continues on the route in terms of like retaining different cultures that exist in Peckham, like they've done with Peckham Palms, then I'm sure a lot of the diversity and the culture would be retained. But if it does, like if developers do take over a lot of like public land and continue to like commercialize the area, then Peckham could look like, you know, probably like something like how Shoreditch kind of looks right now. Even though Shoreditch is, you know, really buzzing with people and like bars, restaurants and stuff, it's more of like a social place rather than like a cultural place. And that could be, I don't know, people like Shoreditch for different reasons, but in terms of like retaining culture and like a place for like the working class community, that could be an example of where Peckham could go if gentrification kind of takes over. So I'm hoping that in the next 20 and 30 years that that culture can be retained and be also, I don't know, like redeveloped in spaces which are maintained and cared for and are actual places that the community are proud to be in and to represent and to also help to build themselves as well. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
Absolutely. I thought that was great. I mean, it's an opinion piece right now, isn't it? And I think it's informed by what you've done. So makes sense. And I think that's the point. We're just keen to hear your thoughts today. I have one last question here, which Dan has said, which is, what are the current issues you think Brixton and Peckham face? And how do you think architects can solve them? You know, so part of the work you've done, one issue is population growth. How do you think we can resolve the issue given context of, I think, just London generally expanding, and any other issues you may be aware of? Oof, that's quite a big one, isn't it?
Yeah. Can read that again.
Oh, can you see it? Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So I think that a lot of what the issues that places like Brixton and Peckham face is the value of them being in close proximity to like central London and having a lot of well, that's not an issue, but as in like it makes the areas quite attractive for developers because of the existing infrastructure that they are in close proximity to. So because it's like buzzing with opportunities and places that are that can be redeveloped, I think that's attractive for developers. And that's an issue if the developers don't have the community's best interest at heart. If their aim, which a lot of their aims are, is to create a lot of profit. So their motive is more likely to build developments which are luxury and expensive, so they can gain greater returns. So, but it's not the fault of the locations that they pick, that they happen to be working class communities, but also happen to have a good infrastructure in where it's located in London. So I think that then creates issues for the working class communities that live there. And even though there is a lot of, there is a lot of developments happening for housing, it just doesn't seem to be going to the people that need it or the people that can afford it. So I think councils kind of need to, kind of like what my conclusion was, I feel like councils have a responsibility to their residents, and if that means that they need to be more engaged with the community and be able to partner with like organizations which can help to develop places that are for them. And I think that is a big step. I feel like there's an issue that is in the root of government planning and councils, and I think that needs to be addressed, because unfortunately they have the power. We don't have much of the power, especially if you're renting as well. You can easily get evicted if you can't afford the rent. So I really think that, for example, there's certain councils who create their own developing companies, which then they can compete on the market with other developers. And for example, if they take over like developments that other developers could have taken over, their profits that they earn is reinvested back into the council, which can help for like regeneration purposes and stuff like that. So I think that's a good strategy in order to help reclaim the power to the people. And so, yeah, hopefully that is, hopefully that answers the question as well. I think the second part of the question was, how do you think we can resolve this issue? I think I kind of answered that in terms of like, actually working with, or actually going to the root of the issue as well. And I think that also starts with government planning and also policies as well. Policy making obviously informs a lot of the decisions that architects have and developers have. And I think that needs to be definitely revised as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I'm quite keen to see where, for instance, so if bringing it back to Lewisham, because I live here, right, we're just starting to get on the fringe of, you had almost like a model market camp where you had loads of different cultures, foods, and all this kind of stuff. And just down the road from me, a Peruvian restaurant opened just before coronavirus, right? And it was amazing food, family run, and then all this kind of comes along. So when you're talking about where we're going, and what's interesting is, because I hate everyone going unprecedented times, and everyone talks about coronavirus, and I know everyone talks about it. It is true though that this actually changes things right now, doesn't it? And it puts maybe, I think it kind of at the moment is putting a stop to these things, or it's making things go longer. But what's interesting is stuff like this has accelerated. So online, you giving your presentation to other groups and the Architecture Social, what's quite interesting is that communities are forming in different ways right now. And it kind of, this scenario gives room for growth in different ways. Saying that though, I do hope Lewisham picks up, and I absolutely love your project. I think it was brilliant.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think those were some really nice questions. What we're going to do is we're going to post this we'll post this in the social, we'll post it on YouTube. I'm worried for some reason, you know, I was getting really panicky during it, that I'm like, can you imagine it doesn't, it's because Zoom's got like a mind of its own sometimes, and I just hope it record. If worst case it doesn't record, I'm gonna have to get your video, I'm gonna have to splice the back end, and it's gonna be and a nightmare. So hopefully it does work. But this is the thing of being the first one for it. So I really appreciate that. So unless there's any other questions from you guys here right now, I think what we'll do is we will post this on the social, and anyone can ask you questions there. And if someone does ask a question, you're around to reply to it. You're on the social, and where else can we find you apart from on the Architecture Social? You're on LinkedIn, Instagram?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, so you can just type my name, which is Johannah Fening. Hopefully it's somewhere on the screen. And then I'm only actually on LinkedIn. I don't actually have any other socials, but I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So yeah, you can get a hold of me there as well. And
the 1 to 100 podcast.
Yes.
You were involved with that, or was it your friends? Remind me.
No, those are my friends. So I met them. They were in third year when I was in my first year masters. So once they had graduated, I was still doing my second year.
Well, you're kind of like their biggest supporter, aren't you? Because that's how that all came to loop around. Yeah. I remember.
I'm so supportive of them. So you can also follow them on everything. They're on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram. They're also on Architectural Social. So it's literally 1 to 100 podcasts, and they post every other week, and that's on Spotify and I think other podcast streaming networks as well. So yeah, it's fun.
No, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I think Amanda's going to interview me this week on.
Oh really?
Yeah, on the oh gosh, I should know this. It's one of the architectural magazines, so I might get some curveballs. I probably should know which one it is going to be before I go, isn't it? Huh? I go. Wake up, Steve. Oh, sorry. Things have been so stressful. Right. That's. I'm lying. This wasn't being stressful. This has been fun. So thank you so much again. I'm just going to embellish my soundboard because I've.
Thank you.
Well done. All right, I'm really impressed. Thank you so much, and I think we will leave it there. And if you get a message from me in a bit, Johannah, it's because it hasn't worked properly, and I need that video. Thank you so much. I think we'll draw there. I really appreciate that. Thank you for your time. Thank you everyone that came as well. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye.